everyone. My name is Dr. Jas Matharoo and welcome to the 2021 MMIs. That sounds a little bit like an award ceremony, but anyway, thank you for allowing us to be but a small part of your journey in applying to med school. Some of you may have done MMIs before, and for others, it may be your first time. So my pointers are going to be a little bit more broad. First of all, can I apologize to my fellow speakers if there's any overlap with what I say and their opening remarks? I hope I'm not stealing anyone's thunder, but hey, that's the advantage when you're going first. So please remember, today is a practice run, but nevertheless, approach it as a competitive process. Like any other interview, preparing for an MMI is a matter of continued and repetitive learning through a cycle of practice, evaluation, improvement, practice, evaluation, improvement. The more you practice, the easier it will become. Now, this is really easy for me to say, but keep calm and enjoy it. If you're stressed, you're not going to perform as well as you possibly could. So when you start, take a deep breath before and just try your best. For sure, there's going to be an adrenaline rush. And afterwards, I'd like to think many of you will wish that you could have done it again. So when it comes to answering each question, I'd like you to introduce yourselves with authority. State your opinions with authority. Be confident in what you say. And don't be afraid to share your thoughts. If you have a poor MMI station, just forget about it. Move on to the next. That's an advantage that the MMI has over traditional interviews. In short spells of an MMI, it doesn't really allow you to build the momentum. And if you can't complete a station, don't be disheartened, just move on. Remember, it's not just what you say, but it's also how you say it. So think about intonation, think about your persuasive skills, think about your body language, and think about the eye contact and your articulation. An ideal interview is always one that feels like you've had a chat. Can I just say that if a question is repeated by an examiner, one that you've had previously, please just let the examiner know and we can ask you a different question. We do have a bank of questions to choose from. The other thing I would say is just take time to consider both sides of a scenario and start perhaps with a general outlook before you sort of drill into the more details of the question and your answers. Concentrate and pay attention to the whole question that is asked. We may be mopping up after each question to ask the other candidates what their view is on the question. So please don't just focus on your own question. And I just want to say, MMIs generally are there to assess teamwork, your communication, critical thinking, empathy, maturity, and self-awareness. But I'll leave just one last thought with you. Lord Neuberger, President of the Supreme Court of England, the most senior judge in the land and probably the greatest legal mind of our generation, famously said, communication and communicate in a language that the recipient can understand. So the best advice I can give you is keep it simple, keep it clear. Best of luck.
Thank you, Jas, for your top tips. Next, I call upon Dr. Devasmitha Venkatarama to speak for a few minutes on tips for the interview.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this mock interview session, and thank you, Dr. Anand, for organizing this, and thank you, Dr. Jas Matharoo, for providing a fantastic overview to the candidates about their approach to these interviews. I think I'm just going to add a few things to what Dr. Matharoo has already mentioned. The first tip, which is already alluded to, is practice, practice, practice. And I think it is important because, with more practice, you're going to actually add finesse to your style, your body language, and your general approach to the interviews, and also help with your nerves. The other thing is some of your interviews might have become online, and the online strategy is slightly different from how you would do it face-to-face. So remember to know where your camera is. Remember your devices quite well so that you actually face the camera. I have done mock interviews where the candidate is facing somewhere else and trying to kind of answer the question, which doesn't produce the same effect. And I know these are not the challenges which you would have in a face-to-face interview, but remember to do that. Maybe practice, videoing yourself and seeing how you present in front of others. Look at your body language and ask someone else to critically appraise you whilst you're doing the interview so that you actually add finesse to your body language and express yourself. Try to be your normal self. Don't try to change yourself, but I think that would be a very good approach to improving your interview skills. The other thing is about answering the questions with personal examples. I think they add a lot of life to your answers. Often giving examples from others' experience is not that helpful because you cannot reflect that effectively. So put in your reflections in your answers and also use that opportunity to sell yourself, because that is so important. You need to tell them why you are an ideal candidate for a medical school interview, and you have to do that very subtly. The selling yourself has to be a very subtle aspect, but try that and try practicing it, and with time you will get the knack of doing that. And the third thing, which is really important, is try to answer the question. Sometimes you might be answering beautifully, but you might not have answered the question. So tip would be to include the part of the question in your answer. And occasionally you might have a very trick question, but remember that when you have a trick question, it probably is tricky for all the candidates. But then you have to then go back to your basic principles of what exactly is this question all about? Is it an ethical question? Is it a question about motivation? And try to go back to those principles and try to answer something which is relevant to the question, even if you don't know what to say in response to the question. So, and don't be, if you don't do a session well, just forget about it and move on to the next session. And I wish you all the very best for your mock interview session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Venkatarama. Next, I call upon Dr. Kumar Marimuthu to briefly give a few tips.
Oh, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Marimuthu. I'm one of the GPs here in Huddersfield. And I've also been involved in these MMIs for many years now with Dr. Aditya Anand. And so I would probably say I've got some reasonable insight to these processes. So I don't want to be repeating what Dr. Venkatarama and Dr. Matharoo has already repeated, but what I'd like to add on to what has already been said is, why do we do MMIs these days? Why is it not panel interviews? And I think the point here is to say that MMIs is actually looking for very specific values in candidates. And that's what the NHS uses these days to recruit prospective staff and medical students. If you all do have time, I want you all to go back and read about what is value-based recruitment, or what shortly is called VBR. This is actually linked to very much to what is required in our candidates who possess the values which is outlined in the NHS constitutional values. So, for example, giving you an example of a value we're looking for in a candidate is teamwork, communication skills. So these are the people we are looking for. So I don't want to be going in length because it's quite a bit for me to tell you all in this 3 minutes. But if you do have some time, I want all of you all to go and read what value-based recruitment is about and what NHS constitutional values is. So going more specifically to what you should be doing on the interview. Now, the first thing is, before you talk, I think always think, even if you do know something well, always think first before you talk. Try not to appear rehearsed. Try not to rattle away too quickly. Think for at least about 5 to 10 seconds or even longer before you actually answer a question. That will look much more professional and appears to be more of a balanced speaker rather than someone who just rattles on. The second very quick point I want to mention is these are little things which make a huge difference. Your body language is very important. And again, the psychological component, I know it is quite a difficult day for you all, but make sure you look happy. It's a bit like you going out to see a doctor. You don't want someone who be looking moody and rude. In the same way, I think the examiners want someone who looks jovial and relaxed. So try your best. I know it's hard. Try your best to look as relaxed as you can. And finally, I just want to remind everyone, it is your day. This is the opportunity you have to sell yourself in that 7 or 6 minutes. So as Dr. Anand has said earlier, psychological is a big part of it. Try and remember, be as positive as you can, but of course not to be too pompous and overconfident, because that could also mark you down. And that's it really. And good luck to everybody.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Marimuthu. Next, I call upon Dr. Aditya Anand to briefly give a few tips.
Hello, everybody. All of you are bright medical aspirants, and you guys are here almost there for the journey. And when you're being invited for an interview, they are obviously looking at candidates who they want to join their university. So go with the right attitude. This is everybody, as everybody has said, be confident, be bold, and present your thoughts. Present it well, but the most important thing as an examiner, I'm a GP trainer, and what I tell my trainees is don't use jargons, because sometimes you want to come across as you're knowledgeable, but at times what you tend to do is overcomplicate things. And what they want is they don't want you to trip you up, but don't end up tripping your own self. So be clear and communicate well your thoughts very well. Give a very balanced, because most of these scenarios they are wanting to know you're going to be a safe doctor. That is all they want. So make sure that whichever way you are, if it is an ethical question, it could be any other scenarios, make sure you're very clear, you communicate it well, show that you're a sensitive person, you have the empathy in you, but also always make sure you give a balanced view to it, because what they want is a person who's not at either end of the spectrum, and don't jump into conclusions. That's not what they want. They want from this, what they want is a person who's going to be a safe doctor, who understands the concepts and is able to practice medicine to the highest level. So there is a lot of learning that will be involved, which you can learn further on, but they want to see the right attitude in you. So make sure that you communicate that well. As everybody else has prior to me said, it is about selling yourself. Make sure you listen, take it in. That one golden minute that is given to you right at the outset is where you collect your thoughts, you formate your ideas, and thereby then present it. So make sure that you practice a lot. And that is another important tip for any of these exams, is that the more you practice, practice makes perfection. So good luck, everybody. I'm sure you'll all brilliantly do well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we go on to the mock interviews, our final speaker is Dr. Senthil Kumar. Over to you, Senthil.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Senthil. I'm a consultant psychiatrist like Eril. I work in addiction. Just few tips. If you have a face-to-face interview, I would suggest to book a hotel the previous day itself. Don't go on the day, because sometimes motorways can get blocked. So that's important. If you are on online, then please check your bandwidth, because on one occasion, I know a student had poor bandwidth. So most of the time what they were talking was interrupted. So just be mindful of that. Sometimes I found if there are more than 2-3 issues in a scenario, I would say the issues in this are A, B, C, which would mean you don't need to cover everything. You need to, but if you run out of time, at least you have identified all 3 or 4. So that will be another ploy to use. Please avoid chewing gums, because that's very frustrating and that's very disrespectful. So if you have a chewing gum, please spit it out. Like you all have come smartly dressed, so please go smartly dressed. Smartly dressed doesn't mean you need to have a tie and a double-breasted suit, whichever. You need to be comfortable. That's very, very important, because in the exam situation, you'll be very stressed, you'll be sweating. So if you have something new, you may find it very uncomfortable. So wear something very comfortable, but it needs to be smart. And also when you book a time, some are morning people, some are afternoon people. I'm an afternoon evening person. So I always book an afternoon or evening whenever I want to go for any exam. So I'll just book accordingly. But also remember, if you are the last candidate at 4:30, The examiner have gone through 7, 8 candidates like you for the same station. So, and also if it's a face-to-face exam, if I'm the examiner, if I examined you in, I don't know, Sheffield, I want to go home. So if you don't catch my eye, so the tiredness and the human behavior is very, very important. Most importantly, in the mock exams, sometimes the candidate felt they failed as a red flag or failed, but actually I gave them an excellent pass. So whatever you think about a particular station, once you finish the station, when you go to the next station, forget it, because there's no point in remembering about it, because then it will impact on the next one. So to conclude, body language, eye contact, and mannerisms, that's very, very important. Please be mindful and good luck.
Hi. So I was really impressed with all the candidates today because my station was on the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic across the world. So I selected 4 questions from a question bank I found. And to be honest, like the way that people answered, I was very impressed with the way people were handling the questions. There were different questions on vaccine hesitancy, herd immunity, the UK's approach to the UK's handling of the pandemic. And it's clear that you guys have done a lot of reading around the topics, because right now, especially, even though we're coming, well, hopefully coming towards the end of the pandemic right now, it's so important that medical students and just in general, the public are well informed about what has been going on in the last 18 months or so. So in particular, in relation to the vaccine particularly, that can definitely come up as like an ethical scenario because it involves all 4 pillars. So just brushing up on your ethical pillars, making sure you know what vaccine hesitancy is, why different socioeconomic groups are perhaps exposed to this, and just in general, having a read around how the UK's handling of the pandemic from the first lockdown to the second lockdown, how the whole purpose was to not overwhelm the NHS initially, and how the vaccine rollout was very successful. There's a lot of different factors that contributed to the UK's handling of the pandemic. And also, if you want to go that one step further, you could also do reading around how other countries have perhaps handled the pandemic. So we look at countries like Brazil and India, where there's been a very sharp number of increase of cases throughout the time. So my main learning point from that session would be to just do a bit more reading on COVID-19 in general, in terms of an ethical point of view, to showing that you're keeping up to date with NHS hot topics, and just in general to show you have a good holistic understanding of the pandemic in general. But I thought the students answered it very well today. I was very impressed. So well done, guys.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. I can see your Dhoni t-shirt in the back. Okay, I will ask next Abhimanyu to come and give a 1-minute feedback.
Hey everyone, like Aditya said, I was really impressed by everyone's answers. There were things that some of you said that I wouldn't have said, or maybe even after I finished my first year. So most of you and there were no red flags, which is amazing as well. Some of you went into real depth in your answers, and I was really, really impressed. What I would say is, while it is easier said than done, obviously, try not to stress too much about your interviews, just because 9 out of 10 interviewers aren't trying to grill you, or I'd say 10 out of them maybe. They're just trying to get to know who you are and why you're a good fit for their medical school or to be a doctor in general. So just go there and show them who you are and try not to worry too much about it. If you don't do too well in one interview, in one station, you might do really well in the next, and you might still get your offer. So try not to worry too much about it, and I'm sure all of you will do really well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Savi. Can I call Dr. Senthil Kumar to give his feedback?
Okay, I think all the candidates who I've examined, I'll be happy to work with you guys as my colleagues. That's a good starting point. Like the other examiner said, there are no red flags. So we discussed this, but just for the group, if you get an unexpected question where you said, oh my God, remember that same question will give the same response to other candidates as well. So it will be the same. If you find something very unusual, it won't be just you, because all of you have gone through a set of questions. There may be slight variation, but there'll be a set of questions. So anything unusual, if it comes, it's unusual for others. So therefore, for that, the important thing is identify the issues. So once you identify the issues, then that's a good starting point. And so the issues are A, B, C. You just say 3. Okay, so then I would know, okay, fine. he'll be a good doctor, potential candidate. So then you expand on it. Some of you have finished in 2.5, 3 minutes. That's not bad, but you can expand on it. So then it'll be okay. Like Abhimanyu said, if you feel you have not done well in one particular station, don't carry that emotion to the next station. It's very difficult not to do it. But remember, once you have moved to your next station, you don't have any control to what you did in the previous station. So forget, move on. And sometimes you may think that you have done really poorly, but we know that you are all under stress, and we are not there to fail you. We are there to see you have the potential. You only need to show the potential. And don't assume you have done really badly, because assumption is always wrong. So I think all the 12 who I have seen today, you'll be a good medical colleagues with me. Well done. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Senthil. That was a very encouraging feedback. Can I next call Devina to give her a 1-minute feedback? Okay, can I call next Dr. Devasmitha Venkatarama to give her feedback?
Thank you. It was a very impressive day. I think I found a range of answers which were very interesting. And I would echo the views which have been discussed by the previous speakers. The other thing is, please use your reflections from work experience effectively, because every answer you can link in with those reflections, because any personal experience actually makes your interview more memorable. So use those experiences to enhance your answers. And I think previously it has also been discussed about linking in. So sometimes you have one single question and you can link in with your personal experience to bring it alive and make it more interesting. And I would like to wish all the candidates the very best. I think all of you have performed so well. And also some of those difficult questions were all attempted by everyone. So well done, and I wish you all the best. And do let us know your outcomes, please.
Okay, thanks, Devasmitha. Yes, last time, the people did feedback, and it's always a good thing to hear from the students. And hopefully we want to see them back as examiners next year. Next, I call upon Meghana to give her feedback.
Again, like everyone said, that was an amazing session. Everyone that I met were, I could tell that everyone did their own research and everyone was willing to, they were all good. They are going to be good doctors. They're all amazing students. All I would say is it was a repetitive theme of trying to have examples for skills. So what really helped me was I had a list of skills a doctor needs and a doctor uses in their lifetime, and have an example for each skill. So when you get asked about it, you can quickly talk about that example. You've got the example, you can use the STAR method, you can reflect upon it, you can talk about why it's important about a doctor. So having that, pre-list in your head would mean that your answer is much clearer and much more efficient, rather than having to think about something on the spot and fumbling about it. But honestly, guys, you'll do amazing, and please don't stress about it. It can be a stressful time. We were all in your situation last year, literally at the same time. I'm not going to say I wasn't stressed, but try not to stress, because it affects you and it affects your academics, and academics are very important as much as your MMIs or interviews are. There's so many ways that you can get into medicine. This isn't your only chance. There's bound to be ways, but I wish you all the best and good luck for everything.
Thank you, Meghana. Can I call Saujanya to give her feedback?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm at university, so I can't turn my camera on at the moment. But I just wanted to say I'm so proud of everyone, because they did amazingly well in the interviews, and they reflected so well on their answers. And yeah, their answers were so good. So well done and good job. And I wish you all the best for your interviews. You'll all be successful stars. One thing I would like to mention is try and do a bit more research on what a physician's associate role is, because I asked that role in my interview and quite a few students found that question quite a bit difficult. So I'll definitely say try and research a bit about their role. And yeah, good luck to everyone. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, I call upon Dr. Jas Matharoo to give us feedback.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Errol. So I think I asked a couple of quite challenging questions, and first of all, well done to everybody who answered very well, generally speaking. The pointers that I would give is, first of all, use the whole minute to think. There was a tendency on a couple of occasions where people were just jumping the gun slightly. You have a minute, so take as much time as you can to think about the answer that you're going to give. Because when you start to answer the 4 minute, when it starts, as I'm sure you found, it can be excruciatingly long or it can be sharpishly short. So my advice is to think about it, and then once it starts, you've got 4 minutes of a structured answer. The only thing I would say is, like anything, we have to practice. The one thing that I would also say, and it's just a pointer, when you get a question, I always think it's a good idea to start from the outskirts. So start with the preamble. Sometimes even repeat the question to yourself in the answer, and it allows you to sort of crystallize your thoughts and then sort of drill into the details of the answer. If there's one thing I'd ask everybody to do is maybe go back, give your family, friends 100 random MMI type questions and tell them just to throw a question at you randomly, and you try to talk 3 minutes uninterrupted on it. And I think the more you do, the better you'll get at it. And if I may, I'd just like to take this opportunity also, and I know he doesn't want to take the credit, but can I say a big thank you on behalf of everybody to Errol and his team, Priya, and everybody behind in the back office who really have worked tirelessly and so well. And I'd like to say on behalf of everybody, Errol, thank you very much. I think it has benefited everybody that's been on the course. And if you don't mind me saying, I think you're a great credit to the profession yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I'm just, it's all because of the team. I will next ask Shaima to give her feedback.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say very well done to the 12 people that I spoke to today. I thought that the standard of answers was very excellent, and I can definitely see you all being potential medical students in the future. So very well done. And so my 3 questions, one was about attributes. So I think it was very similar to Meghna's point, but you need to prepare at least 2 examples for every single attribute, and just try and expand on them, and you can just literally slot them into any answer using the STAR method. And that will just really help you under the pressure of the MMI exam itself, because it can be quite different when you're actually there in person. Sometimes you lose your thought process, so having that save you will really help. My question on confidentiality, I think it was very well answered in general, but definitely try and bring in GMC's good medical practice and the domains, because that literally differentiates your answer from a very good level to an excellent level, I think. So always talk about never doing anything that breaks the medical patient's trust within the medical profession, and always make patient safety your number 1 concern. If you can just name drop that into your answer, it really, really brings it to top marks. So just have a read through that document before you go into interview, and if you bring in the ideas, then you'll do really well. And in terms of my final question on why a certain medical school, you need to talk about the city itself, because you're going to be spending about 5 years living in the city. So they really want to make sure that you know about the city, talk about the additional hospitals, the clinics that you'll be working in, talk about the medical course itself. So have a browse through that website, because that's a classic bread and butter question that they can ask. And talk about the key features. Is it prosection? Is it dissection? and how that's adapted to your learning. And very importantly, at the end, how are you as a medical student going to contribute to that school? Are you going to join in certain societies? Do you play an instrument? Can you join the medics orchestra? Will you volunteer at open days? But other than that, I think very, very well done. Just keep practicing and practice speaking out loud for 4 minutes, and just try and just have confidence in yourself, because I think you have what it is within you. You just need to practice. So very well done today.
Okay, thanks for the detailed feedback, Shaima. Can I next call Shraddha to give her feedback?
Yeah, so I was blown away by the standard responses I heard, because me last year would not have been at that level that you guys are at now. I think I might echo some of the sentences we've heard already about using that 1 minute, because I don't think I had anyone that actually properly used the entire minute. And I would also say maybe try and link back the question to medicine and being a medical student as well, because that's really important. And sometimes that's just the one bit that gets you from like a good answer to like an incredible, like exceptional answer. Also, I asked a question about what would you do if you didn't get into medical school, which I think tripped a couple of people up, because it's a difficult question to ask. But yeah, I think that the advice that we had was really good, and maybe having like specific examples, and maybe like thinking about it a little bit more now that we've had this session, of thinking like being prepared of like the worst outcome possible, and being prepared of like to have failures and being able to bounce back from that and be even stronger. But yeah, I think the standard was just exceptional, and good luck to all of you guys. You're going to be incredible medical students.
Thanks, Shraddha. Can I next call Nipuni?
Hi, so yeah, as everyone else said, the standard was really, really good. I was really impressed by everyone's answers today. I think the main point I would make is to always link back to how your experience and your qualities will be useful in medicine. So always link back to how what you've learned can also be applied in medicine as well. I think that's the main point. And just speak with confidence, because you all know what you're talking about. So good luck with everything.
Okay, thanks, Nipuni. Next, I call upon Pravi.
Yeah, so I also thought that the standard was really good this time and that the candidates answered really well. One thing I would say is that make sure that the answers are structured really well, because my questions are more about skills and qualities that people have developed. So maybe having some sort of timeline where you start with how you're developing them now, and then consider how you could develop them in medical school and then through medicine. Yeah, so good luck, guys.
Okay, thanks, Pravi. Next, I call upon Shreya.
Everyone I talked to today was really, really great, and I don't think anyone has to worry about the interviews later on. Overall, there were no red flags I saw with anyone. If anything, there's just one thing which I would recommend for anyone if they ever have a question in interview with regards to a first aid scenario. For example, if you see someone collapse and you need to get help, the first thing to remember is before going to the person and helping them, make sure that there isn't any danger to yourself as a first aid responder. So like that's the acronym Dr. ABC. The first letter D, that's for danger. Make sure that there's no danger to you yourself before you go and help them. But overall, everyone was really amazing. So best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much, Shreya. Next, I call upon Dr. Aditya Anand.
Hello, everybody. I think they're very keen enthusiasts. You guys are all kind of working towards your goal, and well done to you. And my scenarios were on communication skills, and I kept it as best as possible to be very tricky, because what they are trying to do here in these kind of communication skills scenarios is they can throw at you an irate patient, they can throw at you somebody who is a 16-year-old who is coming to you very upset, crying to you, and so on. So what here they are kind of looking into is a person who is caring, sensitive, and who's able to support this individual who's come to you with distress. And you guys handled that quite well. I think pretty much some of you were very taken aback by some of the questions that were coming to you. But this is to make sure that you're aware of these kind of scenarios can come in. And the most important, I would be very would like to give a feedback is, it is very important to be aware of certain concepts like consent, capacity, confidentiality, about Fraser guidelines. It used to be called Gillick competence. So these are all things that you will be needing to be aware of. So please make sure that these are concepts that you're getting yourself familiarized with. The other one thing I would really look into is also being aware of any social concepts about safeguarding, because safeguarding is a very important aspect, a 16-year-old coming to you. So you just need to be aware of those issues around it. And one thing I really was impressed is none of you went into the jargons of it, because keep it simple. All they want to know is you're a safe doctor, a person who's able to practice medicine, but is aware of the issues. So as long as you're aware of the issues and you show that you are the right candidate, you will all be doing brilliantly well. Good luck.
Thank you. Next, I call upon Naduni.
Yeah, so again, I think everyone was really amazing today. They all answered really well, and I'm sure none of them have anything to worry about. In terms of something that I picked up on across all the groups was relating the question back to medicine. So the examiner doesn't care about a time that you made a mistake. What they care about is how you reflect on that and how you can bring that into your role of medicine, and just always linking it back to your the role of a doctor and how you can treat patients better. But yeah, that was it. Good luck, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Naduni. I'll call upon next Savi.
Yes, I was really impressed by the standard at which everyone answered the questions. I think that one of the main things to think about is signposting. So just give a brief overview of what you're going to talk about when you start answering a question, so that lets the interviewer know what direction you're going to go in. And it also just helps them digest the information that you're going to give them. I think also when you're talking about the skills that you've developed, always relate that back to why that will make you a good medical student, how you can further develop these skills in order to be a good doctor. And also just let them know why you think these skills are important in medicine. So if you've been on any work experience placements or anything like that, just add that into your answer, just to let them know that you really want to go into medicine, and these are the kind of things that you're doing in order to get into medicine.
Okay, thank you. Next, I call upon Shrikar.
So yeah, everyone that I've had was really, really good. I had a lot of knowledge, and they were very good at answering their questions, and they included like the key points and stuff. One thing I'd say is, like the other examiners already said, is making sure you know about NHS values, duties of a doctor, and good medical practice, stuff about that. And also making sure to think in like an examiner's perspective as well, what they would think, and trying to, again, practicing all these skills and trying to get as much exposure to these questions as possible. And yeah, I wish good luck to everyone, and thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shrikar. And finally, I call upon Meera.
Hi there. I'm going to keep it short because I know everyone's had a really busy day. First off, well done to everyone. You've done really well. I think two things that I would say is remember to introduce yourself. It sounds like a silly thing, but it makes a difference. Adds a personal touch. Just introduce yourself, and make sure you give a balanced view. No matter if you agree with the other side of the argument, they're looking for someone who can give a balanced view. So yeah, well done, and good luck for the future.
Okay, thanks, Meera. And finally, we'll call upon our admin, Priya, to thank everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Priya. I've obviously been the person that has been contacting all of you guys about this event. I'm currently sitting in my campus library. So I'm a sociology student, actually. I'm not a medical student at Sheffield Hallam Uni. So it's actually interesting when I do these type of events to get a different insight, because obviously I'm more exposed to sociology and aspects of that, but seeing it from a medical perspective, I just love it, honestly. So I'd like to firstly thank all the doctors and the medical students here for taking their time out on a Saturday to teach and help our potential medical students in this mock interviews. And I would also like to thank all of our candidates. Massive thank you for attending this again on a Saturday from 5 till 7. Now it's gone past 8, and I wish you all the best for your future. So thank you, everyone.